tardes. Muchísimas gracias por estar hoy aquí. Para el Instituto Cervantes es una alegría poder alojar este evento organizado por la Embajada de España y poder tener entre nosotros a Pedro Bonet, un concertista vinculado a la flauta de pico o flauta dulce, como me acaba de explicar. Y doy ahora la palabra a Alfonso Herrero, el consejero político y cultural de la Embajada de España, para que nos dé unas notas sobre Pedro Bonet. Muchas gracias y estoy segura de que vamos a disfrutar mucho de este concierto.
Buenas noches. Para la Embajada de España es un honor volver a colaborar con el Instituto Cervantes, en esta ocasión para traeros la música de Pedro Bonet, que es el director del grupo de música barroca La Folia. Y esta noche va a tocar para nosotros su repertorio sobre tesoros de las rutas del oro, de la seda y de las especies. Así que, por favor, acompañadme para recibir a Pedro Bonet por un fuerte aplauso. Si no habéis entendido, hablaré también en inglés. Creo que tenemos público también que no habla español. It's an honor to team up again with the Instituto Cervantes on this occasion to bring you the music of Pedro Bonet. He's the director of the Baroque music group La Folia, who's performing tonight his repertoire on the treasures of gold, silk and spice roots. So please, now yes, join me in welcoming Pedro Bonet with a round of applause. Thank you so much.
Good evening, buenas noches. Voy a hablar en español y también en inglés. Es un honor estar aquí, todo mi agradecimiento a la Embajada de España en Nueva Delhi y al Instituto Cervantes por esta oportunidad de esta sesión musical. Hay que destacar, yo desde que estoy en Nueva Delhi, llegué ayer, es mi segunda vez en India, impresionado del nivel de español que hay y el buen nivel y el interés que hay por hablar bien esta lengua. No obstante, como hay personas de diferente nivel y también personas que no hablan español, daré unas pequeñas explicaciones en algunos momentos y lo voy a hacer en inglés. Good evening, it's a pleasure and honor to be here. Many thanks, thank you very much to Embassy of Spain in New Delhi, to Instituto Cervantes. I was saying that is a real good Spanish-speaking level in India. And this is, I think, not only the intelligence of the people is studying and using the language, but also the interest, no? So I'm sorry to speak in English, but also I think some people, some friends have come to this concert that they don't speak Spanish, so it would be difficult. So I will use English, perhaps some Spanish as well for these fantastic Spanish Indian people, speaking Spanish people. Well, I just play now these small pieces are in an archaeological piece in Delta of Nile Delta, and is the oldest Christian piece, musical piece that is known. It's fragmentary, but still I think it works. This is why I started with this, and is 3rd century. Now I will play Alphonse X the Wise. This is Alfonso X el Sabio, siglo XIII, 13th century, and the first piece is about silk, telling how the silkworms are doing their cocoon to make the silk. And then the other piece is about Constantinople and the fights in Constantinople. After that, I will play Diego Ortiz, Napoles, which was Spanish, half of 16th century, and also a variation that has to do with silk. So this is now piece number 2 and number 3, Alphonse X the Wise and Diego Ortiz. He was from Toledo. Okay, I follow in English for the explanations, which should be not too long in comparison with the music, no? Because music finally is a sound, subliminal communication, no? And it has to keep like this. Later I will talk a little about the instruments I'm using, okay? But now I follow with the program. We go interesting because now is instrumental version of some Portuguese pieces which are in a manuscript in Paris, and 16th century pieces from when Portuguese came the first time to India. And the first piece, Amor Loco, which would be the same in Spanish, full crazy love, is upon a letter of Camões, Luis Camões, who was the great Portuguese poet that wrote in Goa his Os Lusíadas, which is the great Portuguese poem about epic, the whole history of Portugal, and was written in Goa. Actually, tomorrow I'm going to Goa to know that place, so I think then I will play better even the piece when I know Goa, no? For sure, eh? For sure. So, first a block of 3 Portuguese pieces, and then very curiously also pieces from Africa, from Gulf of Guinea. I've been there, actually, and some of the pieces were collected by a captain of Indian company, British Indian company, beginning of 19th century, and other pieces were collected in 17th century by an English traveler in Jamaica, but they come from Coromantee, and this is Cormanche, and this for me is very curious because I was traveling that coast, which is terribly known as Slaves Coast, because it was a coast of deportation, awful deportation from Africa to America, to the plantations of America. And I was traveling, and suddenly I said to the driver, please stop here a moment. And was for Amsterdam a small bay with fishers' boats, and I found out afterwards that Louis Armstrong, the great jazzman Louis Armstrong, in New Orleans did find his origin in that place. And actually in the 60s, 1964, he made a very important tour as a very known, very important jazzman to that place. So first I shall play Portuguese pieces, 3 Portuguese pieces, and then the African pieces. Bueno, continuamos con el programa. We go on. Now I will play two pieces, very kind of fragmentary. They are complete, but perhaps it was a piece with more people playing, but we conserve only what I will play. And this is from Manila, the Spanish capital in Far East. And after that I will play a Pavane d'Espagne, Peter de Voix. This is Dutch Holland music. I should say just about title of program is the roots of gold, silk and species. No, the one of the gold was going from Africa, that part of South sub-Sahara part, from where was brought gold to Morocco and to Alexandria in Egypt, no? And also salt that was collected in the middle was needed in Morocco, no? And the one of silk is the old route coming from China, and then they were coming very difficult path in the north of China till Central Asia and then to Europe, and also going by the Himalaya down to India, no? But it's a fact that Spain and Portugal, which are the two countries of Iberian Peninsula, no? We had an expansion sailing, so with our boats in 1492 we arrived for the first time, so we say we discovered it for us European, we didn't know it, America. Actually it was thought that it was Asia because Christopher Columbus was searching for Asia, trying to come to Asia, and he found a continent in the middle, was not expected. And Portugal did sail Africa to the top south of Africa and then to the Indic Ocean and until to arrive to Malabar coast in India, no? And this was Vasco da Gama, 1498, no? So these were the two nations that first, but then came Dutch, that had a company coming also, and actually in Indonesia was Dutch till very late 1950s, and in England, that as you know well in India by your history, also did start sailing and competing for these markets. This was what we could call species routes, although were also silk going in the boats. Of course, maritime is is a bit dangerous if the is a shipwreck of the ship, then you lose everything, but it's much quicker. Well, anyway, Manila, this was because Spain was going to America and then from Mexico to Far East. This is good in Manila. And then I played that Dutch piece because it was a war between Spain and that. Well, let's go on. Well, now will be a change. This I told you I will explain about the instruments. These instruments I've been using till now are the instruments, well, let's keep now like this, are the instruments used in Europe with European, they are all clear wood and are woods from the European woods because it was the wood used in Renaissance to make, so until about middle 17th century, the woods used to make instruments. And the music also, which is a music more quiet in a way. I've played some happy pieces, but still Renaissance music is a little plain music. And now I will change, I will play the flutes of these other tables, and you may observe that many of them are in exotic wood. This is a kind of ebony, grenadilla, is a wood from Africa. This is cocobolo, a wood from America. Actually, violin, no? Violin, arc of violin is made by Pernambuco, no? Which is a wood only growing in Brazil. So the thing is, in Baroque time, this would be end of 17th century and 18th century, as these woods were used to make furniture, beautiful furniture, because they were imported from abroad by these ways, maritime ways, to make pieces of furniture, I think is very reasonable to use them to make music, because one can get a more bright sound, which gets very much into the repertoire of that time. So now I will change from one table to the other, and just about the pieces I will play in first place, pieces of nautical English repertory, what they call, how they call this, shandy or something like this. Now suddenly I don't remember, but I mean are pieces from marine, no, from nautical, so from the boats and the Royal Navy, the Jacques Farewell, Plymouth of Hornpipe, Spanish jig, Jamaica, Amorisco, Morocco march, Amboina, that was a terrible thing in Pacific between Dutch that killed English people, and sailors on pipe. This will be the first block of pieces, and after that, very well. Here I shall listen then what is the reaction. Pieces that were collected in India, in Calcutta, very interesting. In sessions between Indian musicians and British musicians. And this was William Hamilton Byrd that published the pieces I am going to play in Calcutta in 1784, and they were collected, so are Indian pieces, by these British musicians. So it's an example of interculturality, no? So we Europeans, me, I am a European interpreter, I will not change this, and I don't need to change it. And that time they were, we have to say it was an important time in the relation between Britain and India, I think, because was Warren Hastings, the governor, was actually the first governor that was not from the English Indian Company, but governmental governor in India, so in the 1780s, and William Jones was also British, founded in that decade also that these years the Bengal Society of Asiatic Studies, and was the beginning of the knowledge of Sanskrit in Occident. So, and Sanskrit that was not known and was older actually than Greek and Latin. So Sanskrit came to be known in Europe in that time. So these pieces will go after the first English pieces and then pieces from India. By the way, I will play the pieces of India with this big flute, which is a bass recorder. Flauta de pico, or flauta dulce in español, which is the name of recorder. Flûte à bec would be in French, flauto diritto in Italian, Blockflöte in German, different names, but all are the same family, the same principle of sound. But these are Renaissance and these are Baroque. Now I will change from the table. now we are going to go further east from India. We go to southeast, what we call Southeast Asia, and first a piece collected in end of 17th century by a French ambassador that went to Thailand, Siam, today Thailand, and that was Louis XIV of France, which mother actually was Spanish. Louis XIV of France sent an embassy. Also, Siamese people came to Versailles, to Paris, to meet the French king, and he sent an embassy to Thailand. So this piece is collected by actually the chief of that embassy in the book he wrote after he came back. And after this, Captain Low's History of Tenasserim are pieces also from Siam, so Thailand, Burma, and Malaysia, and were collected by James Low, who was a captain of the English company. Actually, I have to say this pandemic, that was so general in the world and affected us so much, in India and Spain. All this program was the thing I developed in the 50 days we were confined in Madrid, in my house, and incredibly in 50 days, so almost 2 months, closed at home, I, by one way, I made this program would have taken me 3 years in other time to develop, and by another hand I was traveling the whole world because I found many of these pieces I found them in internet. So it was a good solution for me for the confinement. So now we, as I say, we go to Asia first, Southeast Asia, and then we arrive to China with pieces were collected in China court by Joseph Maria Mio, was a Jesuit that was second half of 18th century in China. And a last thing I would say, we listened to some pieces supposedly coming from India, I mean a version, European version of Indian music, but these were rectas, rectas and tupas, is let's say a kind of music actually rather easy to listen, but Indian music. Now Southeast and then China, and I think you will notice the difference. You will notice better than me even, because we are now in Orient, Middle, okay. Bueno, pues ahora llegamos a la parte final del programa. Vamos además a ir en primer lugar a México. We are going to finish, we are going to finish the listening of this program. In first place, two marches of Mexico. Mexico was New Spain, was Spain at the time, until its independence in the 19th century, like going from 1810 and actually real independence, I think 1820. One is a marcha from Jerusalem, and the other, curiously, is dated in Mexico in 1756 and might be the oldest version of our national hymn that is in Mexico. No? This will be in first place, and after this, the last pieces of the program are two movements of Julius Caesare in Egipto from Handel, and this would be Alexandria, and when Caesar went to Ptolemy, attacked Ptolemy, well, it's the whole history. Actually, it's a piece, but this I left it out of the program because it would be too long. Then, when she falls in love with him, they fall both in love. But so the first one is, let's say, Caesar arriving to Alexandria to fight with Ptolemy, and the last one is how Caesar did defended Cleopatra from the Ptolemy palace. And that would be to close about where we started, which is Nile, Delta of Nile, Egypt, which was one of the places in the Silk. Because, of course, it's important to tell a good story, but also to play a music that stand together, no? Because otherwise would be the story very well. But so I try in this program to collect the music that is this oldie story about the roots, but also trying to finish with a good musical complete theme. much. Muchas gracias. Para terminar voy a tocar unas seguidillas también de México. To finish I will play seguidillas, very short piece. I will play it with this small flute. You see this, like can be in the pocket. When I was a young flute player, I had always in my pocket this flute to play whenever I like to play, no? And well, you have to consider all the flutes I've played and 4 flutes more for the rehearsal before. All go in a small bag, no, in the plane, so it is not bad about the flute. It's quite instrumento transportable.